Hey everybody, this is a recap video of all the different games I've played so far in Political Machine. So the very first one I played at online, or not online, but recording and doing videos, was the Newsom Pritzker versus Trump Cruz. It was on normal difficulty, just getting the hang of the game. As you can see, pretty commanding 300 victory map right there. Then my second one, I was Reagan versus Bill Clinton. This is also normal difficulty, so I got a pretty solid victory, except for lost some of the southern states that you would expect a Republican to win, but not much difference there. Then I went to Masochistic, the hardest difficulty, and Biden beat Ted Cruz. As you can see, a pretty solid victory for Biden with 312. It was Biden-Carter versus Cruz and Vance. I was trying to get, I think Ohio was when I was trying to really but wasn't able to. Lost a lot of the South that I didn't want to lose, but that was, I was able to get Pennsylvania, Michigan, but couldn't really solidify these states here. And then just losing the South was not helpful. Then Williamson and Pritzker versus Vance and Scott. This was probably the tightest one. I felt it was a good campaign for Marianne Williamson. Really, the states I needed to secure was the East, because if I got New Hampshire, Vermont, New Jersey, and Connecticut, I would have won. So it was a winning strategy up to the point of losing the states that typically go Democrat, and that's where JD got the lead and got the victory. Then I was Trump and Vance going up against Dean Phillips and Hillary Clinton, and they squeak out a very tight victory over me. It came down to, you look at some of the, again, Louisiana. Had Louisiana gone my way as a typical red state, I would have been fine. And the Ohio flipping blue was not very good for me in this one. So Dean Phillips gets the presidency in this one. And then the next game was Pete Buttigieg. And this was the first win I had on Masochistic. You can see a pretty solid victory against Kari Lake. We see a whole slew of blue in the Northeast, all the way through the Midwest, except for Wisconsin. That was my exception state. But was able to make up Wisconsin with Georgia. So a strong victory for Buttigieg and Sanders over Lake and Eisenhower. Then I was George W. Bush, picked a Daddy Bush for my VP against Al Gore and Bernie Sanders. So you can see a very commanding victory, 321 electoral votes for George W. Bush. He basically had the West Coast and then a few spotted states in the middle, but nothing really in the Midwest other than Minnesota and Illinois. Sweeping all of these states was helpful, especially with North Carolina, Georgia, and Florida. Then we move on to when I was Hillary Clinton, and I had Roy Cooper as my VP against Trump and Haley. This is the one that was just a devastating loss because California was a swing state, 50-50, which it should not have been. And instead of polishing California, I was trying to keep New Jersey. I was trying to keep some of those states, because if I lost New Jersey and won California, I think I still would have lost. And so I was trying to make up some swing states that were like, Vermont, New Hampshire, New Jersey. I think some of the other, some states that should have gone Democrat were not going my way. So Hillary loses to Trump again, but this time with the weird California loss. Then we have Heitkamp versus Kerry, and I was Rubio and Sass. And despite it being on the hardest difficulty level, I had my biggest blowout ever against Heitkamp and Kerry. You can see she barely even competed, other than the West Coast, New Mexico, Missouri, and then just a few basic liberal states. So, and then everything else, just a sweeping red wave for Rubio. Then I decided to do a Harris versus Trump and a Trump versus Harris. So as Harris, I could not defeat Trump. He was just too powerful, really solidified like PA, Georgia, North Carolina, Florida, locked them down early. And because of that, there was no real path to victory. I think in the video, I'm like, yep, this one's a loss. Just was trying to play catch up most of the entire game. So Trump had me on my heels there as Harris. And you can even see New England falling for Trump. Maine comes in with 4 votes, another 4, 3. So that's about, 10 electoral votes right there. 7 with New Mexico, so 17 votes. And then I just needed to bring in one of these states, or a Georgia or North Carolina, and couldn't do it. Next up, we had when I was Trump against Harris. Then, as Donald Trump, I chose J.D. Vance as my running mate, and Harris coincidentally chose Walz, and I beat Harris worse than Trump beat me when I was Harris. As you can see, just totally dominating the Midwest. She had a weird victory there in Kansas, which I didn't understand, and Missouri, but when it came down to all the real swing states, other than maybe Virginia, if you call that a swing state, I just totally destroyed her on. Then I did the series of doing primary, followed by both primaries, and then whoever won, I played as both sides. So as Rob Portman against Kennedy, you can see Portman had a solid 296 victory. He came back at the end. I mean, I was winning by 350, 340, 306. So I was kind of maybe goofing around trying to win California, which was not a good idea. Because of that, I wasn't polishing up like Louisiana, Missouri, South Carolina, Kansas. But despite that, I still got the victory. So good job there. And then we see Kennedy versus Portman. And this is where I had a very good strategy, in my opinion, which you can see all the states I won were selected in my strategy, except I lost Maryland and Delaware. If I won Maryland and Delaware, I would have won the map about 272 or something like that. 271, excuse me. So I would have just narrowly won. If you saw the map in the video, it was so red. I was down like 150 to 350, essentially, in that electoral college. And so bringing it down to this tight of a victory, or this tight of a loss, was an accomplishment. It's just I wasn't able to seal the deal in those two classic Democrat states. I also tried to flip Iowa too, if I was able to, and I just wasn't. And then Hawaii going red also was another factor that wasn't good. And then the most recent one, I was Bernie Sanders and John Ossoff versus Scott and Nixon. As you can see, I came away with a victory where I lost Pennsylvania, which I like as a common Democrat state to win. I lost Delaware as well, but I got Ohio. So I got most of the Midwest there except for PA. And then Georgia came through for me. North Carolina came through for me. So Sanders got the 297 victory. So in my campaign stats here, you can see that I have been more successful as a Republican than a Democrat. I notice I've never been a Republican female yet, so I'm going to have to maybe play as Nikki Haley or one of the women Republicans. I know like Sarah Palin is not up there, but I'll have to see maybe more of the potential custom candidates as they come out. As for Democrats, I haven't won as a woman as a Democrat. I mean, Hillary lost, Harris lost, Williamson lost, but then we see Sanders and Buttigieg win, and Kennedy loses. I might have to try another one as Newsom and Reagan in the masochistic challenges, but in 13 games, again, I'm neck and neck. I'm tied at 6-6 in my masochistic standings, and then I'm 2-0 with normal, which is expected. But this is just a fun recap video. Hope you enjoyed it. I got more actual gameplay coming up in other videos. Please subscribe to the channel, and if possible, if you want to leave a like, that'd be pretty cool too. See you next time.